Does anyone else feel like Wizard101 has become a bit too grindy, but if you try to quit, 9 out of 10 times you're never really successful and you find yourself reinstalling the game whenever you're reminded by it? I've been playing this game for 7.5 years and I've seen how much it has changed over time. Room Woo used to be the most crowded area in the Commons, the shopping district would also be the next popular hangout spot, as well as hosting parties in the Ice Tower and doing 4v4s in the arena. The most popular YouTubers at the time were Blaze Lifehammer, Zen Master Blue, The Real J, Mega Mikey, and Heather the Wizard. Now it's Awesome the Source, Ferric, Zera, Zephyr, and Fairy Queens. Awesome the Source is single-handedly keeping PvP alive, Ferric took a long break, and the rest are trying to branch out to different games, but is not reaching the success they are hoping for because the Wizard101 community only wants to watch Wizard101 and nothing else. This is why it is so difficult for you WizTubers to quit the game and move on to better things because we don't allow them to. This shows how many of us are all addicted to this game even when we all know that it is not even worth our time. Now, I do sympathize with kingsisle, but also I don't really like the direction of where they have headed because we all have felt that the game is trying to milk as much money as possible before the game shuts down. For example, the reason why 10-year muting is a thing is because the company didn't expect the game to last this long. But considering it has, can we really blame them? Because personally, I think it is the fault of those that wail on the game, that have too much money to spend, and they are the players that have kept the game alive for this long. This then led kingsisle to become greedy over time, knowing that they can release pay to progress or pay to win features because people actually buy them. This is why I sympathize for the company, as I'm sure they don't like to make those greedy decisions, but if it is what keeps their business alive, then they have to keep making them. So my honest opinion of this game is that whales have ruined Wizard101. For example, those that have reached the end of Lumeria, Novus, or Wallaroo know that the gear grind is horrendous. For Lumeria, the merciless robe, boots, and ring can only be dropped from challenge mode Hall of Heroes. This challenge mode is extremely difficult and I don't even know how to beat it as a max level because you need to survive both sides without dying. So how do you expect a person that is level 150 to farm this place? You don't. So then we tell them to farm Novus gear, but Novus gear farming is terrible because even when you learn how to do this fight by watching the guide that I made a year ago, 90% of it is just watching the animation of the spells. I actually love the concept of this fight and helped team ups even when I had all the gear, but it was so boring just to sit through the animations. You essentially need to be watching a movie on the side for the gear farming to even be bearable. Not only that, the crafting recipe is the worst in the game with a bunch of stuff that kingsisle mashed together for you to craft one piece. But then the next gear upgrade is in Wallaroo in the Nightmare Dungeon, so then why do you even need the Aeon? Because kingsisle has made the Nightmare Dungeon very challenging for the casual players to complete, as you need to navigate a maze without getting hit by a broken dream, which is quite difficult to avoid if the hitbox is so big, and if you don't live in America, then you are affected by the ping. But the point that I was trying to make is that because the gear farming has become extremely painful to do over time, we resort to buying these world packs to access the gear of our level. However, this then rewards kingsisle for making such painful decisions in the first place. So the entire community feels disappointed as we feel like a puppet on a string. We feel like to get the best stats in the game, we have to just wait until the next pack releases, or that, you know, the game has become a full-time job where we basically need to be unemployed to have all the time in the world to farm gruesomely for the gear. So essentially, it is both the fault of kingsisle for exploiting the whales and the fault of the whales for feeding the greed of kingsisle, as this is what impacts the rest of the community's ability to enjoy the game. Now, another reason why I sympathize for kingsisle even though I dislike them is that the community complains that the game is too easy and that we want something more challenging or that we want something different because the game has become stale to click the same 2 cards. This is why an event called Basement was created for those that wanted something different and challenging. kingsisle then added incentives like introducing AoE spellments and cosmetic gear that you can only get by doing Basement, but then the community complained that Basement is too toxic because they refused to watch a guide on how to play it. It is a team-based game that requires you to know how to play beforehand, so obviously you piss off your team and they become toxic if you are a liability to them. So essentially, kingsisle gave you a game mode that you can play for fun, and it is both different and challenging because you need to work as a team, but then you don't want to play it because it is quote unquote too toxic or not worth grinding. But the whole point of Basement is to play for fun, not to just increase your goddamn stats, not for the rewards, it is literally just for fun. Raids were then introduced, which essentially took the foundation of Basement, but instead of playing as a form, you play as your wizard. However, 90% of the community hates raids, but can you really fault kingsisle for at least trying to make something challenging? You can't really fault them, for trying to do something different because people kept complaining that the game has become stale. Or for the manticore fight in Novus, a lot of people complained that they weren't able to read the hieroglyphs, aka the icons on the gamuts. Essentially, they didn't like how kingsisle forced Rochambeau's down their throat. But we can all agree that this battle has been the most interesting fight that kingsisle released, as it allowed the community to come together and teach each other how to read the spells. So essentially, every time kingsisle tries to implement new things, it is always shut down by the community, even though we complain that the game is too easy with just clicking 2 cards. So then what the fuck do you actually want? You can suggest that, okay, maybe kingsisle don't make such drastic changes then. But do you really want to just play a game with 4 arcs doing the same click 2 cards bullshit? If so, then make 7 characters and a bunch of new accounts and do that. I hope that made sense, and I hope I didn't offend anyone. I'm just trying to emphasize how divided the community is, where we all want different things, but it is impossible for kingsisle to cater to all of our needs. Now, the biggest reason for burnout is that we don't feel rewarded enough for the amount of effort we put. I'm sure you feel the same with the amount of effort you put into this game, where you're spending hours farming a piece of gear that you can never get due to it being RNG. Then for kingsisle, I also assume the employers there are burnt out, as the community is always complaining about the game. A lot of us say that it would be a dream come true to work at kingsisle, which is why both Cam and Kyle, who were both content creators beforehand, now work there full-time, but I would imagine it to be very depressing with all the hate and backlash they receive. Same with Rapid, I guess he single-handedly ruined PvP according to the PvP community, so I can only imagine how frustrated he feels trying to work on this game. Now, of course, the game can be improved in so many ways, such as easing the burden with the gear grind, valuing prices in the crown shop to actually make sense instead of making something like gold seem discounted to prey on the naivety of the community, to remove the paywall in Wizard City when there are 4 fucking arcs, to introducing rewards back into tourneys, to allow reroll pet talent tokens to be a thing so that pet training becomes less cancerous, to remove the membership model entirely so that we can freely access worlds, but still keep the member benefits and other perks that having a membership could give you if you were to buy one, to remove the fact that we could get our account banned if someone charged back a gift from our wishlist. But why? Why does kingsisle need to even listen to these suggestions when we don't give them a reason to? There is no reason to change when players keep feeding their greed. There is no reason to change when they know that all of us are addicted to their game. We have ruined the game with all of our complaints, and the whales have ruined the game by allowing kingsisle to create so many pay-to-progress features. If you already tried Basement, Decathlon, PvP, raids, maxing out 7 characters, made all of your perfect pets, then you complain that there's nothing to do on the game and that everything has gone stale. Good. That gives you an opportunity to end the grind, stop the addiction, to go touch grass, something that I haven't been doing because kingsisle keeps making updates that rule me back into the game. We all know that for 2024, kingsisle will be slowing down on the updates, and I think this will be beneficial for all of us. This game wasn't supposed to last this long, and we shouldn't have played it for this long either. Definitely, I mentioned a lot of hot takes that many of you probably would disagree on, which is very valid. Again, we all are very divided, but the one thing that we all have in common is that we continue to complain that the magic of this game has died off. But of course that would be the case, as with all games, it has an ending.